The trail of getting food to a grocery store can be complicated, convoluted. Ultimately, when you come to a grocery store, what an amazing thing to have the level of choice we have. In Ontario, I think we're really fortunate with the Ontario Food Terminal and proximity to big city centers like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, which allow for these big companies and international companies to send their products into our country so we can have choice, not just locally, but from around the world. The passion that we have for the industry is to put together that assortment that we think the customer will enjoy and gives them choice. Welcome to Vince's at Home. This week, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. With all of the hype around how our food is sourced, if there were to be tariffs, how it would impact cost of groceries, I thought a really good thing to do for our viewers would be to help explain a little bit about how a grocery store finds the foods that we sell, and hopefully help you make choices on what you buy and where you buy it. So let's start at the farmer level. There's wonderful farmers across Canada and in Ontario that are growing amazing quality products all the time for us year round. Now, we do live in the Northern Hemisphere, so we do have winter. So for a portion of the year, there's absolutely no growing happening outside of greenhouses. But ultimately, there's a lot of investment happening in the agricultural space when it comes to greenhouse growing in Ontario and in Canada. And that allows us to have access to grown in Ontario fresh fruits and vegetables. Another opportunity for growth that's really come up is aquaculture or hydroponic growing, which has really popped up over the last few years. And if you've ever bought a live lettuce where the roots are still intact, that's where you're getting people growing with growing lamps and using a water-fed system in order to grow those items. From a farmer perspective, you have to think about what grows locally. And that's really what Vince's was based on, was buying local produce or what's in season from around the world using the Ontario Food Terminal. My dad Carmen's been buying at the Ontario Food Terminal as his main job since 1976, if I'm not mistaken. What is that, close to 50 years? Sorry, Dad. That's one of the things that my dad continues to do for Vince's. He really does love it. It's one of the true free markets left in the world where fresh produce enters into the market. There's a whole bunch of different people that you can buy from, so different stores, and you have the choice on what you want to buy from whom. And the price of that product, the quality, how much is available, all of those different things dictate the price that you're going to pay. And having great relationships can often be the difference in securing the best produce. And so one of our real perks at Vince's is, again, those relationships at the Ontario Food Terminal and being able to really have first choice on a lot of the best stuff that comes into Canada. Growers have the option on how they sell to the Ontario Food Terminal, because as you can imagine, selling to a grocery store, if you're a farmer, is complicated, right? You have to form a relationship, orders have to be processed, they have to pack them, then they have to get on a truck and either deliver them to us or we have to drive to the farm and pick them up. Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll sell to an intermediary who will then find a buyer for it. And that buyer would be grocery stores, restaurants. In some cases, if we're located really close to the farmer, we can have a direct relationship. So because we are located near the Bradford Marsh, a lot of our carrots, onions, celery, those are all grown so close to us, and we have relationships with the farmers where they're actually selling to us direct. And when you buy direct from a farmer, you're going to be paying the lowest cost. Of course, because there's no middlemen in the mix. And when we get the lowest cost, we can pass it along to our customers. If that farmer needs to go to an intermediary to sell it, someone at the Ontario Food Terminal, well, then what happens is that product gets shipped to the terminal. Once it goes to the terminal, the person who has now bought it has to resell it, and they will add a cost to it. Now, because Vince's is big enough, we go to the Ontario Food Terminal and we buy direct. So we're normally only adding that first layer of cost. Now that's for Ontario grown produce. Think about produce that comes from the rest of the world. Turkey for oranges are amazing. Asia gives us a lot of things like garlic and turmeric and ginger. Australia, New Zealand for kiwis. And then if you think of all the tropical fruit that now people come to expect from the grocery store, it used to just be bananas and pineapples, but now it's a range of avocados, a range of mangoes, papaya, passion fruit. In order to get to Canada, oftentimes they move through South America and the islands, through the United States and into Canada. And that means that they have to touch those lands. So there's some real concerns about inflationary pressures from tariffs. There's another level now, which are called wholesalers. They build the expertise, and now they go to the Ontario Food Terminal, the farmers, the growers, and they create their own warehouse, in essence, of products. They then take on the responsibility of trying to bring those products and sell them to their customers. It's just like layering of a cost to the grocer. That's a layer of cost that goes to the wholesaler. The wholesaler then needs to go around and promote the products and ultimately sell. And remember, we're dealing with perishable products. The things that last long and last for a season, things like apples and carrots and onions and potatoes, they have a little bit longer life, so they have more predictable prices. Things like your strawberries and your blueberries, and again, your leafy greens, you're really dealing on borrowed time. And so one of the most important things to price is how quickly the product can be moved to its final destination and offered for sale. There's whole different markets on commodities in Canada, things like wheat, eggs, milk, dairy products. Again, if you're thinking about some of your favorite items in the middle of the store, these are all items that again need a grower and need a wholesaler or a distributor in order to get the product to the manufacturer. And so think about how those start, right? A lot of those products start in someone's kitchen. Someone has a passion for a product and they want to make something. They will go out and they will source those ingredients. The advent of farmers markets around Ontario have been so great for these artisans who want to go out, they have a recipe, they have a way of making something. So you have people working out of a kitchen just like this who are bringing products to the shelves at Vince's, and those are some of those unique hyper-local products, and we deal direct with them one-to-one, and then of course it scales up from there. In Canada, one of the issues that we have is just the size of our landscape relative to our population. And so for big companies, it became very costly to do business with many small customers. So if you think of the biggest brands that you've come to love, 30 to 40 years ago, they were manufactured hyper-local. So we had many facilities around Ontario and around Canada to make the products. And because of consolidation, and increased competition that has forced that consolidation, a lot of those manufacturers have streamlined and they've gone to either one large facility, or they've moved their production into the United States if they already have a large facility, and then they move the product up to Canada. And likewise, the way we used to buy was, we used to be able to buy from a lot of these big brands directly, and they would ship us in quantities that we could sell on a regular basis. But as those companies had to become more efficient, their requirement for how many items we bought went up and up and up, to the point where it's very difficult, even for Vince's, which would be a small to medium-sized independent, to be able to deal directly with manufacturer. What happens then is we have to now buy from the next level, which is a distributor or a wholesaler. Just like at the Ontario Food Terminal, but now with dry goods, think about a company that says, you know what, okay, Vince's, you can't buy a whole trailer load of this one type of paper towel. But if I work with 7, 8, 10, 20, 100 different buyers or rebuyers who only want one case at a time, that's a business I think I can get into. And what they are doing is they're taking the risk. And what does that do? That adds a layer of cost. These wholesaler distributors end up having many, many different products and many, many different customers. And it's their job to figure out the mix of products that they want to sell. And so you have these really large wholesale distributors who are serving big grocery stores. The biggest wholesale distributors in Ontario that serve independents like us are actually the big grocery chains. So if you think about that, we're buying from our competitors. It's not the most ideal arrangement. However, it's the necessary evil, because otherwise at Vince's Market, we wouldn't be able to sell you a lot of the big brands that you come to expect. And so that's why if you shop at Vince's, you'll recognize we don't have huge aisles full of these groceries, and we can't compete on price. And that's just because we're not being offered the same type of cost. We can't. But what we can do is we can create the right assortment, and we can offer it at a fair price. So you won't find that our pricing is going to be astronomically higher. It might be anywhere from 10 to 15% higher. That's the extra that we're paying to work with a distributor instead of being able to buy direct. What our customers come to expect from us is convenience on the big brands that they'd like to pick up. But we understand that our customers, if they're looking just for price, are going to go to discount retailers, club stores, and that's totally cool. We absolutely expect that. And that's why we focus on our fresh departments, because that's where we can add value and differentiate. But let's go into that world now of distribution, because the majority of products that Vince's brings in that is not produce, let's call it not produce, is actually from small and medium-sized wholesale distributors or distributors. And the reason why is, to get into the world of specialty foods, you need to have a middle person who really cares and really loves something about that group of products. People like Tree of Life, UNFI, Lorenz Foods, Legacy, and these are companies that you'll never hear of because they don't own the brands that you're buying. They're literally the middle person. You get companies that specialize in deli cheese, for example. They end up going and dealing with companies in Quebec that are making these wonderful built cheeses, Ontario Artisans, but then they're also going and having connections with European manufacturers of fine cheese. And they put together a catalog of these wonderful products that they believe are great, are priced in a way that can sell. It's their job then to come to us and present those products to us as options that we should buy. You'd be surprised to know that on any given week, we work with over 150 unique vendors to put together our assortment of product. And we're just a small little grocery store. And ultimately, that's our choice as a business, right? How do we offer customers items that we think they're gonna come to Vince's and buy? And we try things. We bring in new lines, we bring in different types of products. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And so often we're encouraging of our customers to say, tell us what you want to find at Vince's and we'll try it. Because we are nimble and we're small and we can react quickly and we're really good at educating ourselves on the products that we're bringing in, we're the first people to try new products because we want to see what sticks. We've seen amazing products that we really ramped up on, and then all of a sudden, customers stop buying them from us and we find out that it's being listed at one of your favorite club stores or one of your discount stores. So that goes down to the next topic that I want to bring up about grocery stores, which is volume pricing. Just like going to a club grocer or a club store, and if you think about club, without naming our competitors, just think about a place where you buy a membership and you go in and everything comes in really big formats. I think you figured out who I'm talking about. How those arrangements work ultimately is they commit to really large quantities. That brings the cost down for them. And so we're in a really delicate place as Vince's because we'd love to sell more products and we'd love to sell at those low prices. But the risk of bringing in large quantities and the fact that, again, it's perishable, we have to be really selective on what we're willing to take that risk on. We choose to focus on fresh, items that we can add value to, differentiated products that you won't find elsewhere, great quality assortment, the items that we think you're interested in, and of course, we try to always price them as fairly as we can. What the independent can do, guys like us, is we can be nimble and we can find deals and we can work really hard and we can work on lower margins and we can put together a really great assortment of products that you'll eat and that you'll enjoy and hopefully you'll find value in. The food industry runs on people power. The majority of the jobs in the food sector are for manual labor or processing labor, logistics, truck drivers, and it's hard work. I start at the Ontario Food Terminal. Ontario Food Terminal opens at 2 o'clock in the morning, closes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you go down there and you're able to see the people working, it's a hard life. It's lifting boxes, stacking skids, it's cold. The same thing moves into food manufacturing plants. Making sure that food standards are at a high level means there's a lot of things that can make the worker uncomfortable. Cold conditions, a certain layer of garments that you have to wear in order to protect yourself during the food processing. Again, warehousing and distribution, it's the same thing. Manual labor, putting together orders. There's so many people involved in the value chain of how your food gets to you. If you think about the workers that actually have to make the product, get it on a truck, there's sales representatives that have to come out and present the products. There's analysts, business managers, marketing teams, finance teams. And then once you get to the grocery store, we have to have our own layer of jobs, starting with people that take the product off of our trucks, get it on the shelves, in some cases, get it in the ovens, add value by processing it or turning those fruits and vegetables into wonderful fruit platters and vegetable platters, ready to go salads. So people are really what drive this industry. As the average cost of labor increases, so too do the cost of our groceries. That's just a reality that is not a bad thing, knowing that, if you're paying a little bit more for your groceries, but that is providing a better paying wage position, oftentimes that's hopefully something that we believe our customers, again, will see value in and are willing to support with their food spend. Because again, there's just such great personalities and people in this business. And that's really what we love as a family about being in this business. Our best friends as a family are those that are our peers oftentimes, other grocers, manufacturers. It's like a big family. You really get to know each other and you want to help each other grow your mutual business. So there's wonderful people at the heart of this. And our team is just so great. We recognize, again, how hard it is to work in a grocery store. A lot of people might be watching, say, my first job was at a grocery store. There's a lot of people that have to do the right things in the handling of the food to make sure that it stays at its best state and in order to reduce waste. We love our people. We love the people that are in this industry. They really make this work. So hopefully I've given you a little bit of an idea on how our industry works, the layers that are involved that lead to a grocery store being what it is. It's a fabulous place to spend our days, and we hope you'll shop with us soon.